A lot of the conversations are directed around how do we guarantee farmers a sustainable price? How do we make sure that the farmer is covering his price of cost of production? And how do we help origins like Rwanda, which is where we are now, to increase production, to keep a sustainable industry into the next 50 years, and how we support farmers at the bottom of the chain to have a sustainable livelihood.
You're based in Kenya. We've seen that the volumes in coffee exports from the country are currently decreasing. So what are some of the things that can be done in order for this to be reversed?
Well, I think there's often trends in coffee consumption, and also there's trends in production. And of late, Kenyan crop has reduced. It's reduced for a lot of reasons. One is urbanization, one is lack of funding in the cooperative sector, one is the youth not wanting to carry on producing coffee, or they want to move into other sectors that they see more trendy and more exciting for them. So one has to create policy and a trading environment and a growing environment where people again can make a living, where the young people or the women can see that it's a worthwhile industry. But I mean, this is why the exports have reduced, because as you have less production, you tend to have higher prices. And there's a lot of competition on the world stage for coffee. Brazil produces 60-70 million bags. Kenya produces 600,000 bags. So we're a small percentage of the world production. So unless we can differentiate the product and have a really top quality product, we can't stay valid in the industry. We're no longer relevant, and people will look to buy crops that are more consistent and more reliable, where things work better, the infrastructure works better. For instance, if the ports, should I say, in East Africa suddenly clog up and the vessels stop coming and the coffee is not flowing, then the buyers will go and look for coffee elsewhere. So Kenya is still one of the best loved coffees in the world, without a doubt. Most roasters love Kenyan coffee, but they use a small percentage of it. And whilst the specialty market is growing for the use of Kenya coffee, the commercial market, where price is key, in America or in Japan or in US, they're using less Kenya, so that they have a lower cost of production themselves in their roasting plants.
As you've mentioned, urbanization is kicking in, as well as the youth and women want to join other sectors. What is being done to change this mindset? Because coffee is a revenue generator for the country. What is being done?
There's a lot of initiatives that have kicked off, particularly in our region, but globally as well, to try and empower people in the industry, to build their capacity in the industry. And particularly a lot of that is targeted at youth and gender. So a lot of the projects, whether it's funded by the local government, or whether it's funded by external government, or it's funded by NGOs, or it's funded by roasters, there's a lot of work generally to go and support initiatives at grassroots level to build capacity of people.
What more is the government doing? I was reading some of the media, and most of the people are complaining, saying that the government of Kenya is not really investing enough in this sector. What more could it do?
I think the government's role is as a regulator, should be as a regulator, it should be as a capacity builder, it should be making sure that all the stakeholders in the whole value chain of any commodity are being listened to, and they are serving their constituents to the best of their ability. You know, a lot of farmers would ask the government to subsidize inputs, for instance, which isn't really practicable, but facilitating licenses to bring in good quality inputs and get them distributed around the country and shown to the farmers that these are the right inputs, marketing to the farmers, you know, use this and when to use it. it would be a good thing. But I think the government's role is really to listen to its constituents, to listen to its stakeholders in any industry, and make sure that it's working best. Make sure that governance at the cooperative level is working to the best capacity, so that the farmers are receiving as much of the revenue of the coffee sales as is possible. That money isn't squandered, or it's looked after, that quality is looked after. I think the government needs programs of tree planting, of rejuvenation of the crop, to help farmers. It all comes down to making a living for the farmers, yeah? That's what they need.
Yeah, you've mentioned revenues for the farmers at the moment. Are they currently getting enough as the input they are putting in?
The thing with revenue is it's a question of quality, and it's a question of yield. And what we always talk about here is yield. The yield on Kenyan in the smallholder sector is very, very small. And it could be 30 kilos a tree, or 20 kilos a tree, or 10 kilos a tree. But no, it's not. It's below 5 kilos a tree. So although there are very good producers in some places, they're usually the ones that have listened to trainings and have become more aware of how they should grow coffee and get the best yields. But yield is the key here. And if the farmers could increase their yield by 10 times, yeah, or twice, 3 times, 4 times, they would have so much more revenue. So often farmers talk about price. They say we want a higher price. But it's not actually a higher price, it's a higher volume in order to get a higher total revenue. That's key.
And when we look here in the region, we see Uganda being the best producer, producing a lot of volume, coffee volume. Tanzania, Rwanda, and now Kenya as well. Is there competition here in the region, in the coffee sector?
There is competition, really, yeah, there is, between Kenya and now Rwanda, because Rwanda coffee is improving year on year. It's a small volume, but the way it grows in its transition of having semi-washed coffee to washed coffee, whereas now, you know, more than 50–60% is fully washed. Before it was the other way around. It's competing more and more with Kenya, and it competes favorably on quality vis-a-vis price, yeah? Kenya still has the edge by far. Uganda is a big producer, but mostly Robusta. It does have some Arabica, and it does have some Arabica that competes with Kenya and Rwanda, but on a smaller scale. Tanzania is a different kind of Arabica. It's more like another mild, like a Colombian coffee. So it's very popular in Japan. It's one of their 4 major coffees that they buy in Japan. So it has a different market sector. It doesn't really compete, apart from the very top strata, with the Kenya coffee.